Hello, good day everyone. This is with God Educational Consult. We are your assistants in science subject, especially physics and chemistry. And the subject we are looking at today is physics. The topic here today is equilibrium of forces. Equilibrium of forces. Before we begin, we like to define some terms. Use first resultant force. A resultant force is that single force that have the same effect in magnitude and direction as two or more forces acting together. The resultant force, this force R, has the same effect in magnitude in direction as forces P and Q. Forces P and Q. So the combined effect of force P and force Q is represented by a single vector R, which is known as the resultant vector. So if two forces are and acting at a point, both acting perpendicular in direction, that is, they add an angle of 90 degrees to each other, and both act at point O, then the resultant of of the forces P and Q is represented. And that resultant can be obtained using Pythagoras theorem for the hypotenuse of a right angled triangle. As you can see, and Pythagoras, r square is equal to p square plus q square. So from this, you get the value of r. R will now be equal to the square root of p square plus q square. That gives us the resultant of vectors p, or forces p and q. Now, if the two forces are inclined at an angle lower, at an acute angle less than 90 degrees, force p and q, they are inclined at an angle theta less than 90 degrees, an acute angle, then the resultant will be the diagonal of the parallelogram formed, because forces P and Q represent the adjacent sides of a parallelogram. Forces P and Q represent the adjacent side of a parallelogram. So the resultant of these two vectors is represented by the diagonal of the parallelogram from the parallelogram law of vector. So to get this resultant, you can use the cosine rule, which says that r square is equal to p square plus q square minus 2pq cos 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 alpha, where alpha is the angle, where alpha is this angle opposite to the r. Let's represent this as alpha. Alpha is the angle opposite to r. So by doing so, you can get the resultant of these two vectors P and Q as they are inclined at an acute angle to each other. Now let's go to equilibriant force. An equilibriant force is that force, the third force that balances two other forces. You can see forces P and Q keep this point O at equilibrium, in which there is no net force acting at point O, by a third force, which is known as the equilibriant. So the forces P and Q are balanced by the equilibriant force. Forces P and Q are balanced by the equilibriant force. So how do we get the magnitude of this equilibriant force? It is equal in magnitude to the resultant force. The only difference is that they are opposite in direction. They are opposite in direction. So the resultant force has the same magnitude, the same value as the equilibrium force, but they are opposite in direction. The same thing if the equilibrium force, if the resultant force goes in this direction, not east direction, then the equilibrium force goes in the southwest direction. Southwest direction. So I hope I've made my point clear. With this full point, with this short video, I hope you will get the basic understanding of equilibrium of forces and also understand the meaning of resultant and equilibrium forces. Till we meet again next time on this channel, I pray the Lord keep us. Thank you very much.